Well, the campaign group Women Against State Pension Inequality, known as WASPI Women, say the government's decision is an insult. We're now joined by the group's chair, Angela Madden, and also Jan Fulster from the WASPI group in Wigan and Makerfield. Jan, first of all, your reaction when you heard the news?
I think really we'd expected that the government would do the decent thing and follow everything that was supposed to happen. And of course that hasn't happened, so I feel very, very let down.
Were you shocked by the decision?
Absolutely, yes, yeah. With the talks that we'd had with members of Parliament prior to them coming into power, and, you know, felt very much that they were on our side and they realised the enormity of what had happened to us and that they were prepared to do something about it. So to get to this position now and find that they're going to renege on it, it's heartbreaking, yeah.
You say renege on it because I think we've got pictures that in the past, some of the people who are now in government were holding up those signs, weren't they?
The pledges saying that they were all for it and that they would go, yes, absolutely.
Keir Starmer before he became Prime Minister. There's Liz Kendall, who's now, of course, the Cabinet Minister who's responsible. So when you look back at these pictures, what do you think?
Well, it just feels as if it's all been a lie, that, you know, that we've been taken down the road that isn't happening. It just doesn't seem fair.
Let's talk to Angela now. Angela, you are chair of the WASPI campaign. I'm just wondering, you know, as the dust settles a little bit on this, you know, how close had you come to any reassurance that the decision might have been different?
Well, the Ombudsman is an office of the government, and previous governments have always recognised the Ombudsman as the fair broker. They spent 6 years investigating all the evidence from the women involved, like Jan and myself, and from the Ombudsman. They looked at this survey data, and they did find that 70% of women our age knew that there was going to be some change to the state pension age. But one of the communications that the DWP said they made was in the Times, and it said the state pension age is changing in 2020 for women. Now, Jan and I actually should have received our pensions before 2020. I was born in 1954, so I was expecting my pension in 2014. So if I had seen that communication, as the DWP is calling it, I would have thought, phew, well, I'll have my state pension by then, so it won't affect me. And I would have gone on with my business. So the argument Liz Kendall is using now is a statistic the DWP or Liz Kendall herself has picked up out of all the other information, because there were thousands of pages of evidence from the DWP, and we read through it all, as did the Ombudsman.
Just to be clear then, sorry.
Now it's unbelievable.
Sorry to interrupt, Angela. There's a slight delay there. When you're saying the statistics she's picked, the number that she's talking about is she's saying that it would cost the taxpayer, cost the country £10 billion to pay you compensation at the level that you've been calling for, and she says that the country just cannot afford that. We report on this programme every day about trouble in the economy and cuts to different sectors. Do you understand that that's a huge amount of money?
A huge amount of money, yes. I'm a taxpayer. You know, but I want this justice resolved, and so do at least 70% of taxpayers, and they're not all my age. This is a question of fairness. The government got this wrong. They saved £181 billion by taking that money away from us. Now, all they needed to do was give us sufficient notice and we would have sorted our lives out, because that's what we've always done. But they chose not to do that. Now, why did they make that choice? Why is the DWP being so defensive about this? The Ombudsman actually knew the DWP would not take on board his recommendations. So he actually set the report before Parliament. Now, Parliament is full of MPs who represent you and I, everybody, not just a small, I don't know the taxpayers that would actually say, no, the government can ride roughshod over people and not have to repay them, not have to give them any redress. I mean, do you want to live in that sort of a country?
Angela, I'm curious. I know it's early days right now, but do you know what the WASPI women might do next?
Well, we are going to speak to politicians, first of all. There is an all-party parliamentary group who represent our interests in Parliament, so that might be our first step. But we've been retweeting all night the posts from MPs who are as incredulous as we are. Parliament needs to have its say. The MPs who want this to remain a democratic country need to have their say.
Jan, we're talking about the campaign and the group, but just on an individual level, what kind of difference has this made to you? What difference would it make in your life to get the compensation that you're calling for?
Well, I think that not only for me, but as Angela said, for so many women, that the compensation would, I think, prove for a start off that we had been wronged. And it is what they said that they were going to do. And I think for a lot of women, it would help with just living costs. The winter fuel payment has been taken away, so many other things. I'm a recent widow. My husband died 8 months ago. And, life is very different, sort of now as it was then. And I think for a lot of women, who have been divorced, who are single, I think that this sort of compensation would help at this time, with what they are actually dealing with. As I say, for living, not for, let's book a holiday, let's go out for coffee, but for the here and now.
Angela, Jan talking there about the realities of needing more money just to live, and I wonder if that's a story you hear a lot.
A lot. I mean, the state pension in this country is pitiful, really. They go on about the £220 a week maximum that anyone can have under state pension as though it's some kind of fortune. Well, these people have never had to live on £9,000 a year. It's crazy. It's impossible. And yes, people who have exactly that amount and nothing else can actually claim pension credit. But as you know, a lot of us don't, because we're proud people. We've always managed on our own and we want to continue managing on our own. But those on at £9,300 a year can't claim pension credit. So what do? Some people actually have to live on that amount. It's crazy.
It's an issue that we will follow in the weeks and months ahead. Angela, for now, and Jan, thank you very much indeed.